everyone, welcome back to Sham's Makeup, and if you're new to my channel, my name is Shamala. Welcome to my channel. Make sure you subscribe for more videos of mine. Today I'm actually going to do a review and also a very quick eye makeup using the new Natasha Denona. This is their bronze eyeshadow palette. Of course, there is a lot of fingerprints because of its packaging. So adding on to the Natasha Denona's eyeshadow palettes, this one has made its way to her collection, and when it comes to bronze or bronzy shades, I'm a total fan of them. So I definitely needed to pick up this particular eyeshadow palette. So this palette retails for $65 and there are 15 shades in this particular palette. They are available on Natasha Denona's website, they are available on Beautylish, and they are also available at Sephora. So being a brown skinned person, I definitely wanted to try out this palette to see if it works for my particular skin tone. So the eye makeup that I have on today, I've used all the shadows that are in this particular eyeshadow palette. So you definitely want to check it out. And this is a very quick eye makeup look and it's very achievable. Sometimes if you're on the go or you're a mom, you have a busy schedule, you want something to look nice, at the same time you want it to be very quick, this is the way to go. So make sure to stay on until my tutorial. Now let's quickly get on to the palette and its review. So this particular palette, again, it retails at $65. Natasha Denona's eyeshadow palettes, they are usually at the higher price point, and this particular palette is much more an affordable version of her palettes and her collections. There are palettes which retails at $129 or so. So this eyeshadows, there are about 15 eyeshadows. So when I'm taking a look at their website, it does say that this product is 0.65 ounces, which is 18.25 grams. And this particular palette is an alcohol-free, mineral oil-free, and also it's not tested on animals, and the lifetime of this particular eyeshadow palette is 24 months, which is equivalent to 2 years. And this palette is actually made in Italy. So let's get into the eyeshadows. I do have like a swatch of the eyeshadows somewhere right here in my video so that you have a clear picture how it looks against my skin tone. Now let's get into the swatches. The very first one is True Copper, which is a warm coppery shade. The next one is Suntan. It is a warm medium brown, and this is a matte shade. The next one we have Sundown, medium light yellow brown, also a matte shade. Up next is Deep Dive. Deep Dive is a deep brown eggplant shade. And the last one is Rhodium. Rhodium is a medium warm brown with a silver reflect. Moving on to the second row, we have Magma. Magma is a medium dark amber shade. Second one is High Degree. It's a red copper shade. Alloy, it's a vibrant bronze with a golden reflect. Next, we have Rich, which is a medium warm mustard shade. And the last one is True Bronze, which is a foil bronzy shade. So moving on to the third row, we have Gloaming, which is a burnt amber with a light bronze reflect. Next, we have Palladium, which is a warm pinkish taupe. Up next, we have Bliss, which has a red pink with golden green reflect. We have Silk, foiled rich champagne, and we have Beach, which is a warm nude. So it also says that this palette has a range of formula, which is texture from sultry, cream powder to matte to vibrant duochromes, metallics and shimmers, this palette creates a variety of looks. It's a perfect complement to your summer glow. And it also says that it's flattering on every skin tone and texture. Again, I am a brown skin person, so definitely I was excited when I read the description. I want to get an eyeshadow which works for me. And all the shades that are right here is definitely my go-to kind of favorite shades. So when I took a look at this particular palette, it kind of reminded me of the Biba palette. One main reason it reminded me of the Biba palette is the way the eyeshadows are placed in the palette itself. So when it comes to Natasha Denona, she's known for an high-end brand. So I'm always looking forward for her to create colors, not only colors, but also to have a good quality of palette, if that does make sense. Obviously, when it comes to eyeshadows, these eyeshadows are beautiful eyeshadows. I have no complaints over these eyeshadows. But when it comes to the placement of shadows, it kind of worries me that the placements are made very cheaply. They are not of like a quality made. So I do have my Biba palette, which is right here. And if you guys can see, this particular eyeshadow, which is a black eyeshadow shade, it kind of came out from the palette and it's pretty damaged. Like, it's still out and it just popped out. Thankfully, it did not break. And this did not only happen with my particular eyeshadow palette. I did watch many other reviews here on YouTube, and I did see a lot of people saying that this eyeshadows kind of just pop out of nowhere, and some of it just breaks. And to know that, it breaks my heart, because this palette is like $129 and it's not cheap. It is pretty pricey and not everyone could afford. And when you can afford it, or if you're trying to get something that you want to keep it for a long time, or you just can get one particular palette for that price point, you want to see the quality in it. So when it comes to this particular palette, the bronze eyeshadow palette, it's the same thing that I particularly noticed. Again, I have no complaints on the eyeshadows. I love the eyeshadows. I loved how the texture of the eyeshadows are, how the mattes wear on my skin tone. They wear so prominently, easily blendable. For me personally, I felt that 2 brushes worked for me to create my entire makeup look. And with the shimmery and metallic eyeshadows, I tend to use my fingers with it, because I personally feel that they perform the best with fingers and not brushes. With brushes, they tend to like go everywhere, but when you just dab your fingers and then you layer them over your eye area, they give you the perfect look and they stick onto your eye area pretty well. So let's come back to the quality of it. So the quality of it is the only problem I had with this particular palette, because when I was working on with it with my brushes, I could feel that some of the eyeshadows were pretty shaky. So it kind of worries me if I do this way, like in long term, it might just get damaged. Some of it may pop out. That's the only complaint I have with every other Natasha Denona's eyeshadow palette. So being a 65 eyeshadow palette, I wish that they could have focused a little bit more on the quality, because eventually it's just going to pop out and the eyeshadows are going to be damaged, and after a long time you wouldn't be able to get a replacement on the palette. So it's just a disaster. Otherwise, if you ask me, do I love this particular palette? I do. Do I recommend this eyeshadow palette for my skin tone girls, for brown skin girls? I definitely do. These eyeshadows would look beautiful on any skin tone, even to the deepest skin tone. These eyeshadow palettes work pretty well and they look so beautiful. And I again would vouch for the quality of the shadows itself. They are really quality, well-made eyeshadows. Lastly, while I was looking at this palette, while I was creating this eye look and I was exploring this eyeshadow palette, I felt that the palette lacked an highlight shade. they kind of did not include the highlight shades for your inner corners or even your eyebrow areas to highlight. So they did come out with a face palette. I felt in the face palette there was a highlighter. So it kind of like created an impression that you need that face palette for your highlighter. So if you're a person who do not apply like bright shades on the inner corners or your brow area, that's totally fine. But if you want something to look bright on your inner corners or your brow area, you may need to find another eyeshadow, or you may need her face palette. I did not get the bronze face palette, so I did use this is their Tan Bronze Glow palette. So I just used this particular shade, which is right here, as an highlight for my eye makeup. So that's the other thing I felt that was missing in this particular eyeshadow palette. Now let's move on to the eye makeup. So I'm going to apply the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter eyeshadow primer. So applying primers will help your eyeshadow last longer. The first shade that I'm going to pick up is the shade Suntan. And I'm going to blend this over my crease area as a transition shade. So just keep blending until you see it's seamless and it doesn't leave any harsh line. This matte shade is pretty blendable and it's also very pigmented. I'm just deepening the shade over my crease area. The next shade that I'm picking up is Magma. It's another matte shade. So I'm going to intensify the outer corner. I'm using the very same brush. I usually just clean out my brush and then I reuse them again. Doing likewise on the other side of my eye area. So for the lid shade, I'm going to use the shade Palladium, and I'm using my fingers to apply this shade. So I'm just patting in before I blend the eyeshadows in. And using fingers, it applies even more intense than a brush with these shadows. Doing likewise on the other side of my eye area. And then I'm just packing in the shade Magma just to intensify the outer corner. I'm just blending it in together with the shimmery shade. I'm using my Persona Cosmetics brown eyeliner to line my inner rim. Here I'm using the pencil brush, picking up the shade Suntan and Magma, and I'm using this on my lower lid. I'm just blending them in to smoke it out. I'm using the very same brush to apply the shade Gloaming on the inner corners just to create an highlight kind of effect. I'm using the face palette. This is the Tan and Bronze face palette. I'm picking up the lighter shade just to highlight underneath my brow bone and also the inner corners of my eye. And pretty much I'm done with the eye makeup. I just curled my lashes and applied mascara. So pretty much that's all I have to share with you regards to the Natasha Denona Bronze Palette. Well, I do recommend this palette. Yet again, I love this palette. I love how I can create eye makeup look with this palette. Sometimes when I want something easy go, I can just apply the matte shades and they apply so well. They're pretty creamy. I'm definitely enjoying this particular palette. So I am also finding a dupe for this palette. So I haven't found an affordable drugstore dupe for this particular palette, but I have found like a dupe, like something which is comparable to the Natasha Denona Bronze Eyeshadow palette. So if you guys want to see a dupe of that, definitely leave me a comment on the comment box below. And up next, I'm also coming up with a foundation review, and I'm actually trying out a new foundation from ColourPop. So do not miss on that. Definitely subscribe to my channel. Till my very next one. Goodbye.